as you put it into the fire, the first thing it does is it removes all the water of the biomass, and that smolders the fire, so that reduces the temperature. So then you don't get to hit certain temperatures. So that's why you need dry biomass, and with the dry biomass you can hit very high temperatures.
So the higher the temperature, the shorter the time, the better quality of biochar. Great.
A device where it has temperature, has time, it has like a SIM card. The moment that the biochar starts being made, the moment you turn on the pyrolysis equipment, that starts tracking the temperature, starts tracking the time, and starts sending that data to ensure
everyone has an impact that they can make, no matter how small it is. You never know where the ripple effect will travel and what impact you will make in another person's life. Maybe that person will be the next who's going to change the world. Let's make climate cool again. Let's make climate cool again. High five.
Yeah, you're listening to Bite Size Climate Tech, Season 3.
We've talked about green molecules, and as Koji very nicely pointed out, everything is coming down to hydrogen and CO2. So next one, I have the CTO of Planboo, Marc, joining us. Yeah, Planboo is
Biochar carbon removal in the tropics. So strong focus in the tropics and providing the dMRV, the software to the tracking of it.
I think you're going to explain to us what is behind your technology, Internet of Things sensor.
Yeah, in order to generate credits, you need to be able to track it. What's called MRV first, which is measure, report, and verify. So ensure that what is happening, how much of it, and ensure that it's happening, and then verify, trust that it's happening. So there's different methods of it, but one part that we're focusing in Planboo is to use what's called IoT or Internet of Things, which is basically use hardware or sensors connected to the internet. So it's ensuring that it's all more accurate and more transparent.
I think you were telling me about how you use the Internet of Things in the whole process. If you can take us to the journey on that one.
Currently, how we do it is we have what we call a green box, which is a device where it has temperature, has time, and it has like a SIM card. And we plug that into every kiln, which is what it's used to make biochar. Yeah. So that's connected and it's kiln agnostic. That can be plugged into any kiln, and then that starts the moment that the biochar starts being made, the moment you turn on the pyrolysis equipment, that starts tracking the temperature, starts tracking the time, and starts sending that data to ensure that biochar is being produced. And with that data, we can then ensure that the quality is on, because you hit certain temperatures, the duration of it gives us an indication of how long it is. It can give us an indication on how much biomass is gone in. So it helps us quantify the entire process. When someone says, I've produced biochar, I've removed carbon, we can then quantify, qualify it, and verify that it's actually taking place.
This question just come to my mind. How is this device, right? And the kiln is 500 degrees to 650 degrees. What type of material is made that it can survive that high temperature? And then what's the best type of biochar? How do you measure that?
First question, what is the material made of? Well, we have a probe that goes into the kiln, and that probe is laced with ceramic. I think if I got it right, is laced with certain ceramic filaments or woven into the braiding of the probe, and that ceramic can hold very high temperature. So that's what it's made of. And then the other question, which was how do you determine good quality biochar? Part of it is how high the temperature. What is the temperature you hit, and what is the temperature curve? So how soon you hit certain temperature, for how long you maintain it. The biggest problem with biochar quality would be like the methane emissions, which is very directly related to the moisture of the biomass. If the biomass is moist, when you pyrolyze it, it releases the methane. It releases the methane. It dries. Well, as you put it into the fire, the first thing it does is it removes all the water of the biomass, and that smolders the fire, so that reduces the temperature. So then you don't get to hit certain temperatures. So that's why you need dry biomass, and with the dry biomass you can hit very high temperatures.
So the higher the temperature, the shorter the time, the better quality of biochar. Great.
How would you explain this to an 8-year-old?
So this is something, it took me a while, and I'm not going to lie, I had to use the help of ChatGPT into certain areas, so disclaimer.
Yeah.
Imagine that all your toys can talk to each other. So you have a toy car. When you're driving it and when you're getting closer to your toy house with the garage door opens automatically. You don't have to open it yourself. You have something inside of the car that gets to tell the garage door on the toy house of like, hey, I'm coming, open. So then that's how I would explaining what you get objects to talk to each other.
Such a good way to put it. So the question from the previous guest.
What climate technology do you think is being overlooked and needs more innovation and focus?
I'm very biased because I'm on the Biochar tropic space. I'm going to change a little bit the question because I want to reflect. It's basically with how the event at the drop yesterday, a lot of keynote speakers, or the last one especially, that had quite a lot of impact or resonate quite a bit, was related into how we need to simplify technology removals to be more global accessible. A lot of the technologies that we've developed and we're developing are very global north focused.
Yes.
So the way I would answer this is whatever the one that we choose, all of them should be looked into on how can we get everyone in the world to be able to do it. How we get DAC to be able to be done in the tropics or in the global south. How do we get any climate solution, electrification and hydrogen? How do we get that to be accessible and usable in the global south as well, which is
right. So how do you have come up with one technology that's accessible to everyone, no matter where you are, no matter what kind of economic situation that you have, make it equitable, basically. Yeah. Do you have a question for the next guest?
My question to the next guest would be, in order to achieve net zero and tackle climate change, we need to have a global buy-in. So what is everyone has to believe it, everyone has to trust it, everyone has to be it's for a common good. They have to have the buy-in of it. So I guess the question would be, what is the one or two or most levers to build that trust? What do you think that is in terms of trust building is necessary for everyone to get into climate tech or get into climate action?
So the question is how to raise the awareness of trust.
How you build trust? How do you build the trust for people to get into climate action, doing something for the climate?
How do you build the trust for people to want to get into climate? Why did you start working in climate?
The answer has probably three different areas, which it was, first of all, I started to help a friend. So I had Freddie, my co-founder, who wanted to start working with Planboo. And I just had been doing financial models. And so I just went hey, I can help you on this. So I started with that. And then it developed to a sense of I was working in the construction sector, in a very high-end luxury resorts in the middle of nowhere. And a sense of during COVID, a sense of I don't really want to work for very rich people building very beautiful things. But it's so disconnected to the areas that we go, because when we go there, we work, we see the realities, and we're building this importing things from all over the world to make it super nice, super beautiful. But it's just making rich people happier when it doesn't fully translate into the local community. Yeah. So there was that sense of working with, initially was Bamboo, not anymore. Well, what now is one of them, but it was the sense of working with climate action, removing CO2, and bringing that to a point of it's equitable and it's a solution that everyone can access and everyone can benefit from.
I think I have a similar story. I went to Colombia for a conference called One Young World. So they gather 1,000 young people to talk about the Sustainable Development Goal. Mm-hmm. At the time, I was working in investment bank in Hong Kong. So people sent me their message on the night out drinking and stuff, and people on the stage are talking about Sustainable Development Goal. And then I was what I'm doing with my life. So I think we all end up at the same place, and let's make climate cool again. Great.